Now, Washington Mornings on the Mall. 105.9 FM. And AM 630. WMAL.
8:36 on WMAL, where Washington comes to talk. Brian Wilson, Larry O'Connor, and we have on the phone now Congressman Tom Price, Republican from Georgia. We want to get into all of the negotiations that are about to begin on how we avoid going over the fiscal cliff. But I want to start by asking you if you have any thoughts about the David Petraeus thing, Congressman.
Well, just a huge tragedy, I'm telling you, and the timing of his inability to speak before our committee is a bit curious. We'd like to get to the bottom of that, but clearly this is a man who's remarkably talented, and his service is lost through incredible personal peccadillos that he had, and it's just awful.
Awful. Congressman, you say that the timing is curious. I mean, what could be the reasonable reason for this timing?
Well, we've seen out of this administration a clear desire not to address or not to be transparent about what happened in Benghazi and what's currently happening in the Middle East, whether it's the Iranian attempt to shoot down one of our drones or anything else. And so when you have a scheduled committee hearing, which ought to be able to gain the information from one of the principals involved, and you have that principal person say, "No, I'm sorry, I can't testify," and you have the Secretary of State say, "No, my schedule won't accommodate you," then clearly you have to question whether or not this administration has any desire to change its opaque stance that it's had for the last 4 years.
Let me ask you just one more question. This was initially reported. It was shot down by the CIA. Now Fox News on its website is saying that a well-placed Washington source confirms that there were Libyan militiamen being held at the CIA annex in Benghazi, and that their presence was being looked at as a possible motive for the staged attack on the consulate and annex that night. Again, I say the CIA said this was not right, but Fox News doubling down on that little bit of information. Have you heard anything like that?
I've heard that. I don't have any further information on it in any way to corroborate either side. But this gets to the heart of the matter. What was going on in Libya? What were the challenges that we had? Why wasn't the security increased in the consulate? Why hasn't the administration been more forthcoming with their responses? And is it all politics for this administration, right, and why they didn't divulge this information?
Well, inquiring minds want to know. I hope we get to the bottom of it. Okay, the fiscal cliff. Are we doomed?
No, absolutely not.
We can fix this?
We can. There are real solutions if the president and the Senate. What this election was about was the American people saying, "Look, we don't want single party governance in this country. We believe that there's something valued about divided government, about one party not controlling the Senate and the House and the White House." What that means is that we've got to work together. Now, the House Republicans have been putting forward positive solutions for all of these challenges, including the fiscal cliff. As you'll recall, our budget addressed it, the reconciliation bill addressed it, it addressed the sequestration, it put in place a timeline for positive tax reform without increasing rates by closing loopholes and limiting deductions and credits, so that you can solve this challenge and get this economy working again and get jobs created. That's where we want to be.
Congressman Price, some would say, I've heard some conservative commentators just say the best thing the Republicans in the House could do right now is to just walk away. Just let, the president wants to do this, let sequestration happen, let it happen. He owns it. He wants to have a mandate, go ahead. And then the inevitable economic hardship that this country will go through will be solely on his shoulders, instead of the Republicans coming in and doing some sort of compromise so that they share the blame with this, because you know that whatever cuts the Republican leadership ends up agreeing to, they're going to be cuts, insignificant cuts that happen way down the line that probably will never happen anyway.
Well, I don't agree with the latter point, but and the reason that you don't walk away is because these are real huge challenges, and these are real people's lives out here. People are going to be hurt if the president doesn't cooperate with Congress and move things forward in a positive way. Look, I take the president at his word. He said he wasn't going to raise taxes on those under $250,000. The way not to raise taxes on those under $250,000 is to make certain that we don't raise taxes on job creators. And there's the path for compromise.
Congressman Price, you're an MD. You've been one of the leading voices against Obamacare. I know that you led the charge. Georgia, I believe, was one of the first states to really jump in there against Obamacare. That was supposed to be one of the key issues in this election, and the president has been reelected. The Senate has stayed Democrat. At this point, What's the outlook with Obamacare and any sort of resistance against this legislation?
Well, you have to continue to resist it because it's wrong. It's wrong on a policy standpoint. It's wrong for patients. It's wrong for doctors. Doctors are going to be fleeing the medical profession, and so the access challenges are going to be huge for patients. This law, the current law, will collapse of its own weight because it just doesn't work.
Do you think that's by design?
I don't think they were that capable of that.
Well, some people think
process.
that. I mean, they think that let's do this, and then when it collapses, it'll be inevitable that we have basically a nationalized healthcare system like Canada.
Well, there's some who believe that. I don't think they were that good. You remember that time during 09 and 10. I mean, they were kind of bouncing off the walls trying to figure out what to do. So there are some who certainly want a single-payer system, want the federal government to be running healthcare. This is pretty doggone close, but it won't work from a financial standpoint. It certainly doesn't work for employers or for states. And so we will need reform. We hope it's in the direction of positive patient-centered reform and not government-centered reform.
All right, so I hear that the Speaker of the House held a conference call with the House Republicans. How would you describe that call?
As confidential and private.
Well, but I mean, a lot of it has said that a lot has leaked out, and some people have said that the Speaker told members of the Republican conference in the House, get on board with what I'm doing, and that there was general acquiescence to that point.
No, I mean the call wasn't that long to reach any conclusion. Look, the election was on Tuesday. The Speaker and the conference appropriately had a conference call with the members of the conference to discuss very briefly the election and what the path was going to be for the lame duck, just in terms of the issues that we'd be addressing. And we'll have another conference on Wednesday morning and a bunch of them this week. So there are all sorts of opportunity to talk.
I appreciate you being with us here today and help us understand, how this is all going to unfold. But I think that the great fear that many people have is that a little bit will be done and that they'll kick the can down the road and that we won't take this moment, this really crucial key moment where we could potentially make real reformational change to our economy and to the debt and deficit problems and maybe go after entitlements. Are we prepared to do the hard things in this lame duck session, or is that going to be kicked into next year?
Well, I don't know that it'll be in the lame duck session. It sure would be nice, but it'll certainly be in the short term, and by that I mean within a year, because if we don't, then the bondholders and the credit rating agencies are going to have their say at some point, and they will say, look, we no longer have confidence. And when that happens, then things begin to unravel pretty doggone quickly, which will force our action. That's not the direction that we believe we ought to head, because then again, real people get hurt with real problems in the economy, and we can fix this.
And are we going to be able to stop the sequestration to the point where there will not be horrendous cuts in defense?
I think that question is solely on the shoulders of the president. The House Republicans have put forward a plan to make certain that does not happen, and the Senate and the president have not responded to that. They may not like our plan, which is just fine, but they've got to put a plan on the table, and that's what we hope happens.
Representative Price, once a Wolverine, always a Wolverine. I know you're in Georgia, but come on, go blue is right. What's your prediction on our Wolverines against the Buckeyes?
Well, we pulled one out barely this past weekend, and always against the Buckeyes, you just got to win.
All right, there it is. I hope you're taking that same attitude against the administration in these upcoming negotiations.
Congressman Tom Price, Republican from Georgia, thank you so much for joining us. Really do appreciate you coming on.
Take care.